Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari, and it's one day less. We're closer to the election by one day, which is, as you know, on the 25th. All eyes are on the 25th. And, well, my guest this morning is Mr. Jiti Ogunye. He's an author, essayist, public interest lawyer. I would have put lawyer first. That's where we know the man of the law. But any of those things, you are all of them. And I'm sure you're not particular about the order. A fine morning to you, GT. Thank you very much.
Thanks for inviting me.
Indeed.
Good morning, Nigerians. Yeah.
So, as you know, the one thing that has not escaped the attention of anybody, whether you didn't care about, there are those who don't care about politics, whether you didn't care, whether you do care intensely, is the Naira redesign and its fallouts and the hardship it has brought on many. Mr. President has spoken. He actually was speaking from outside of the country, where he has said that, look, I am aware, I'm not unaware of the sufferings, and that people should be patient, and that we'll do some things. That's to one side. The Supreme Court, and I know this is right down your territory because you have an opinion on that, the Supreme Court injunction, to most of us unlearned people, seemed to be saying, hold on a while. Between the president and central bank, they didn't hold on. Give me your commentary, please.
Well, a lot has been said about the Naira swap now being famously tagged Naira confiscation.
Yes, somebody has said that.
Exercise embarked upon by the federal government of Nigeria. And a lot more will still be said. My take up front is that the policy at the time of introducing it was unnecessary. I won't quibble, I won't prevaricate. I've seen a lot of people drawn a line. Oh, it's good policy, it's something that we should be doing, but the timing. I'm not going to make any such division. All I just want to say, and this on record, is that that policy is wrong-headed, both in timing and not in timing alone now, but also in its conception and its shambolic implementation. We have to take the two together. Nobody is doubting that the CBN has powers under the CBN Act. And I'm referencing Section 17, which says that it's the sole authority to print and mint Naira and coins, not the federal government, not the state government, not any local government. And Section 18, which says that it's a make arrangement for the printing of new notes. And Section 19, which says that it has to get the approval of Mr. President. And Section 20, which says that once old notes are being withdrawn, every old note that is submitted or surrendered must be redeemed. Meaning that as the CBN was taking those new notes, the equivalent amount should be given to those who have those, which the CBN has breached, a provision which the CBN and the federal government has breached. So nobody is arguing about that. But the point is that it's now very obvious, clear to the blind, audible enough to the deaf, that the program or project or policy was not well thought through. It lacked the capacity to print immediately an equivalent sum of the amount that's being withdrawn from circulation. And obviously, they lacked the strategy to implement the project, given the way it's gone. And then the timing of it, which has brought untold hardship on the masses of our people. In default, the CBA and some supporters of this policy keep saying that, oh, it's good, we have to go to cashless policy. The CBN didn't tell us at the outset that they were using this as cashless policy. They've been flip-flopping cashless policy. Oh, we want to fight illicit election financing. Oh, we want to fight those who are hoarding money. Oh, we want to embrace what is modern and all that. They've not given us any coherent reason why they had to embark on this policy 6, 7, 8 months to the end of the tenure of this administration. So if the president had to approve, and he was the one who approved, this president has not satisfied Nigerians on why he didn't do it from day one. We know that this president is slow. He was even slow to constitute the cabinet. It took him 6 months. We know. But he's not told us why he didn't do it year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7. And then the 8th year, he's trying to rush this through, and the president is advising Nigerians. Be patient.
Be patient.
Tolerate the pain and all that. And I'm asking, who is going to indemnify those who are being inflicted with pain now? Who is going to compensate the banks whose property have been lost, right? Insurance, right? Who is going to even remedy a situation whereby I saw the Yarepo axis the other time, on Friday, the newly constructed road, the newly tarred roads.
Yes.
Where people had bonfires.
That's right.
Thereby melting the tar.
That's right.
And I was just wondering, why do you inflict this pain on the citizen and even on yourself as a government? I can't understand it.
Well, I don't know if they didn't think, because you see, Jiti, people, captains of industry, heads of organizations, in this case, the head of the country, usually you will have a feasibility study telling you what it is going to be like, this project that we're thinking about. And as you just said, between the federal government and the CBN, they have demonstrated a lack of capacity to execute this thing properly. But they still went ahead. The president is on record as saying that he wants a free, fair, credible election to be his legacy. And people were quoting him for a long time. There's no going back. Well, I don't know. In the latest round of crisis now, he has said that we are going to be exploring all sorts of ways to ameliorate this situation. But as you said, I find it personally a bit difficult to understand how they didn't see all of this up front. All this chaos, all this crisis, all this damage, all this destruction as a result of a policy between CBN and the federal government. I can't understand how they will say that they didn't, because these are strategists. You don't get to where you're being without being a strategist. But for what it is worth, Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I was reading someplace, had spoken about it and had said that, let it be known, I am not against this whole currency swap change. Maybe he himself was speaking politically, was being politically correct. He was being politically correct. He said,
I'm opposed to it.
Yes.
Jiti Ogunye, because it doesn't make any sense to me at this point. Even from a monetary policy standpoint, do you know how much it will cost a country that is perpetually borrowing money? Perpetually borrowing money to pay salaries, to do all sort of stuff, to even print this currency. Do you know how much it will take Nigeria? And the cost has not been disclosed to print this currency. Oh, because the CBN is trying to operate like a country, like a sovereign on its own,
yeah.
So it doesn't go to the National Assembly to get budget approved. Who approved the money that is going to spend on this exercise at this crucial time?
And now, after the event, when there's a crisis, you're inviting or convening the Council of State. What should have been done before? Okay, welcome back. And my guest is Jiti Ogunye, and we're looking at the Naira redesign. We take it along with the Supreme Court decision and then look into matters arising on it. The Supreme Court, the federal government has gone against the Supreme Court, at least in not obeying the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. That itself is surprising to many who recall that the president used to say when he was asked to do difficult things, throughout his years of service, that, well, you see, you must remember, I'm not a military head of state anymore. Now I'm a Democrat, democratically elected, subject to rule of law, and we must obey the law. I don't know, Jiti, this is more your area, but I just seem to recall that position of the president.
Yeah, just to conclude on my thought before the
Sure.
break, the CBN did not do this alone. The president approved of it, so the president is responsible. And this is the answer to a number of people who at the initial point were saying that the CBN was responsible, the federal government was not responsible, so the state ought not to have triggered the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court under Section 232, which is the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, and therefore they ought to have gone to the Federal High Court, for example, to sue the CBN. That suggestion has been poo-pooed over time because the president has come out clearly to show Nigerians that he was the one directing the affairs on the policy. And two, the impossibility, or rather the incongruity of states now going to the Federal High Court to sue an agency of the federal government, i.e. the CBN, has also been established. Now, the point for me
I'm sorry,
is that...
sorry to interrupt. Also, as you know, completing this melee, the party, the president's party itself has said it identifies with the governors.
No, look, the president obviously is isolated on this matter. He is, and that's why he has to desperately, if you ask me, unprecedentedly, have to be making a broadcast from Ethiopia to Nigerians. And in that broadcast, analysts have not yet analyzed it thoroughly. That was supposed to be a state broadcast. He meshed the two in that same broadcast because they have been portrayed as somebody who was sabotaging the effort of his party by his governors. He then had to assure everybody in that same broadcast,
yes,
a state broadcast, to campaign for his flag bearer. He is under pressure and he knows that he's been isolated. Let's face it, he is isolated. And I have kept saying that rigidity is no principle. And stone-heartedness is no courage. Look, you can be firm and then be amenable to popular opinion, to superior arguments. I'm saying that on this occasion, this president got it wrong.
He got it wrong.
He got it wrong. There's no dancing around it. And I know that, yes, the president had shown that on certain state matters, he could be very firm, but wrong. Let's give an example. The service ships that were replaced at long last, it took the whole country, traditional rulers in the north, governors, to openly break ranks with the president on the service ships before he could. His own appointees, he had difficulty in removing them from office. And when he eventually did, who is that person now that will not say that from that point when they were relieved of their duties, before he compensated them by appointing them ministers, ambassadors, and the likes, that we've seen a change in the Northwest that was ridden with banditry. The governor of Kaduna State, yes, the same governor of Kaduna State, had to openly lambast the federal government and say, we know where they are. We talk to them on phone. We've been asking you endlessly. Go and bomb them, simultaneously, Niger and all that. And look at, so that at today, the immediate threat to the possibility of having an election is no longer insecurity, but the contrivance of Naira unavailability, contrived by the government itself, meaning that...
Not to mention the fuel.
Not to mention the fuel. Meaning that on certain occasions when everybody has seen the way, the president, who is the leader, who is the president, who should ordinarily, as Chief Obafemi submitted in his book, Thoughts on Nigerian Constitution, should have or be imbued with a higher mental magnitude than the led. Because that's the hallmark of leadership. The leader must see further than the led. He must hear more than the led. He must think more than the led. He must be more farsighted than the led. So on many occasions, the president has to play a tailist role, meaning that other people will have seen what is correct before the president grudgingly will be persuaded. That's not leadership. And I'm saying that it's wrong. There's no dancing around it. If he's saying that you want to fight corruption in the system, illicit election, is the CBN anti-corruption agency. It's the duty of the CBN that ought to maintain price stability as one of the core of its functions. Is it his duty to be fighting to ensure that there's free and fair election?
It might not even.
It's not the duty of INEC and the anti-corruption agencies and the government itself in the final analysis. What's the business of CBN with the election other than keeping the so-called sensitive materials? Okay? Which, again, for me, is suspect, if you had to ask me. And I'm not sowing seeds of distrust and all that. If you are not faithful with the issue of Naira, election is coming, and you are the one to keep the sensitive materials, why should I trust you? I'm saying that this president got it wrong. There's no other way. And now, on the issue of the decision of the Supreme Court, I've also had people dance around the issue. What is the issue here? The Supreme Court, before 10th of February, said, maintain the status quo. We extend it to the 15th. And after that, the president then made a broadcast and said, I'm aware that the courts have intervened, meaning that the court decision was known to the president. But he then said that because I believe in the rule of law, he then did the exact opposite of what the Supreme Court said should not be done. Who does that? And so certain persons have also explained that away by saying that, oh, the president was misadvised. I'm tired. I'm tired of listening to that excuses being given. The president was misadvised. Who appointed the advisors anyway?
You know, the way we go about our business in Nigeria, people wouldn't believe it. I don't know how relevant it is. Perhaps it's irrelevant. Governor Emefiele, CBN Governor Emefiele, wanted to be president. That's, just to show you what the kind. He actually, he bought the form. We saw cars. We saw vehicles loaded up, with his picture and all of that. So that is just a little one, by the way, trying to understand this. And now this is the same man. Between him and the president, they can pull this number, and thousands, not to say hundreds of thousands of Nigerians are suffering as a result. Well, as I said, it's interesting to hear that even if we want to say Bola Ahmed Tinubu was being politically correct, he has said that he has nothing against it. But Uche in Anambra, so sorry to have kept you waiting. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yaro.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, the barrister.
Good morning. Good morning, Uche.
Yeah, this is Uche. I'm calling from Nnewi.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Yaro. Now, I think the way we are overflowing this issue.
Which issue is being overflowed? Which one? Be specific.
No, when they say that the president is not respecting the court order, I mean, is this the first time? Is this the first time that the president is not respecting court order? Why are we talking about this one as if it's just the first time? But the president has this history of not obeying court orders. We all are in this country now. And we are just talking about it now. Everybody is talking. Even the governors that are supposed to be talking all this while, that each time that a court, in fact, I was the time that the president went to an MBA. The lawyer there should get me witness. He went to MBA. He was talking about something that how do you put it, that is above the rule of law. That's national security. Is
okay.
The rule of law.
Okay.
He said it now.
Okay.
Okay, national security, rule of law. Are we not under the rule of law, even the national security?
So, Uche, to understand you, what you are saying, Uche, sorry to interrupt you, to understand you is that you are not surprised by this, seems to be what you are saying.
Yes, we are not supposed to be surprised now.
That's the overflogging thing. I hear you, sir. I hear you. Thank you very much for calling in. And in fairness to Uche, even though he didn't say so expressly, but Since when did Nigerian presidents begin to obey the courts? Because you got to cut the president some slack in that he's not alone in disobeying court orders. It seems to be the point he's bringing about.
I can't see the wood from the trees. I can't see, and I can't endorse that point of view. That point of view is circulating in the polity now. And for me, that is a rationalization of infamy and continued disobedience to court orders. So the president has done it in the past. This is not the first time he's doing it. So we must condone that.
Or he's not even the first president.
Yes, we must condone that. That's balderdash. Due respect. And
I
for
think,
those who are saying that it's being overflogged,
I think
go and check.
Uche was being ironic.
Go and check. No, I don't think so. Go and check the records out. You didn't mention Nnamdi Kanu, but when the order was not obeyed, I think that we had a show here. Yes. I think that was the last time I came here, and we referenced that and said that no, the Court of Appeal has made a pronouncement on it. When Showore's order was being disobeyed, we said what we had to say, and so on and so forth. So you cannot condemn people who, in all sincerity and in good conscience, are saying this is not right, that, oh, this is not the first time, and so we must condone it. And in any case, because people didn't say anything about injustice yesterday, they are forever, prohibited from saying so. Is that what you're saying? I can buy that kind of argument. What I can see is that there's a contumacious, indeed flagrant, and arrogant disobedience of the order of a court. And people need to know this. People need to know this.
But you see, as the police would, in investigating a matter, even lawyers also are interested in motives. What would be the motive?
Look.
What would be the motive?
The motive is, the motive may just be that I want to demonstrate that I'm not a psychologist, but I've been trying to psychoanalyze this administration for a long time. And it's difficult for me because there are things that you don't need to do, and yet you do.
Because I suggested to Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, that the president was working against the candidate of his own party, no matter how unknowingly. And Lai was scandalized. He was scandalized. But so what is it? We're talking about motive.
Based on what the president has done, the APC presidential candidate shouldn't be winning any election. I'm serious.
Apart from the fact that sometimes the downtrodden, the bullied, the oppressed, things can sort of swing, perhaps. It has been known. Say, No.
I get you. I understand that. I am not saying that is decisive, but I am saying that the logical, because you are talking about the same party. And so what then did you see? You seen the party, their governors, struggle to say, this is Mr. President policy. It's not a party program. So that the voting public, the electorate, will not mistake the president's singular action as the action of their party and then punish their candidate for that. They've said it often. But I'm saying that given what the president has done, it's so severe. And the president can say, okay, be patient and all that. No, it's not done that way. And let me make this point, sir. The executive branch of government is very large. Comprises the president at the apex, the federal executive, the ministers, and MDAs, law enforcement agencies, anti-corruption agencies, statutory bodies and corporations. All these are in the executive branch of government. It's bad enough for a police officer or an IGP to disobey a court order. But when an apex executive authority in the country, the Constitution in Section 5 vests the executive authority of the Federation in the President, defies an apex court, you are conjuring up a constitutional crisis indeed. Because that's the pinnacle of the judiciary. And this president, although at the initial point had said openly at an APA Pali, conference that year, that the judiciary is my headache. The president says so. Nigerians don't recall this. That then shouldn't mean that when an occasion like this arises, you shouldn't obey the court order. More so when, if you ask me, the Supreme Court intervened to save the face of the federal government.
Exactly.
It was a face they should have clutched to that order. They should have embraced it wholeheartedly and should have thanked and then used that opportunity in-house to say, CBN governor, upon all the things that you have done, you are contesting, I didn't do anything against you. I even renew your mandate. Is this how you have to pay me?
Yes.
Okay, I inherited you from Goodluck Jonathan. In that election, my party was accusing you of using your CBN to flood the country with dollars. People have forgotten about this. On that occasion, but I tolerated you. I didn't demand your resignation. So you knew that this thing was not going to work. Mint, you claim you had the capacity. Where is the capacity now? The president should have brought out a statesman in him, if he's in there, and then do what is right. But for him to then come out and say, I'm aware of your order, but you know, this is what I'm going to do.
So we don't know what the motive.
I can understand.
We don't know what the motive for the action is, apart from what
even
the president
devil
has
does not know the thought of man. I don't know what the motive for this president is.
Well, the president has said that he wants to leave this place better than he met it, and that is what he wants to be his legacy. And this confusion, it might seem like that to us, is what we're going to have to pass through. Jiti Ogunye is still on set with us, and the whole Naira redesign, which should have been a simple issue. In fact, the Naira redesign is no redesign, but that's a totally different subject. It just looks like the color separation was adjusted. People in advertising know about color separation. You got 4 sheets. You know, you got four sheets of film. You put them on top of each other. They come out with color the way you and I know it. Take away one, and there'll be a variation. That's what was done. I don't know. I wasn't there. And they're calling it a Naira redesign. But more importantly, they then prevent Nigerians from, that is, when I say the policy, the action, then prevents Nigerians from spending their own money. Their own money. Nigerians are dehumanized. There are people sleeping at ATM machines. Yes, you can trust the dramatic in our people. There are people who are now doing praise worship at ATM machines. If they are Muslims, they are doing their rukus in there. The point being that we are here. We don't know when it's going to...
No, it's not drama. People are not overtly dramatic. Really, people have been very tolerant. And that's why people say that Nigerians laugh, they smile and all that. They're happy-go-lucky people and all that. We've been tolerant. Okay? Now, we now have a situation of people now stripping themselves naked in the banks.
Well, that was...
the Tunisian situation where, you know, somebody burned himself and then that triggered the Arab Spring was almost going to come here. Okay? It is just that psychologists do not have sufficient work in our land here. You know, until people, you know, strip themselves naked and go to the market, they are not certified in the estimation of the people as ravingly mad. You know, there are many weary alasho because of the system. Those who are mad, who have been turned mad by the system, by deprivation, economic hardship, and etc. in this country. And so those things that you see are a direct reflection of what people are going through.
That's right.
You know.
Let me bring in Reverend Dominic for holding. Thank you, Reverend Dominic, for holding on. Good morning.
Good morning, Yori. Good morning to your guests.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning.
Yori, listen to me. You know I'm not surprised at what is happening. For over a year or two ago, most of us, George, you know, and my friend, all of us moved to London here, we knew that there's a plan on the ground to make sure that Ashwaji don't become a president by the elements from the north. But the surprising thing about this, Yori, I'm a pastor, I'm not a politician. The surprising thing about it that Buhari, and the truth must be told, Buhari, which myself as a reverend, as a pastor, defy my religious stature to campaign for him, and Ashwaji, whether you like it or not, can we call a spade a spade? Ashwaji forsake his own ambition that Mr. President become a president, that now he put in every impediment that this man not become a president. If he wins this election on Saturday, it will be a miracle to the president. No party on earth demarcates himself through this election and win that election. And if he wins this election on Saturday, I wouldn't know what I would call Nigerians. I went to bank this morning by 7 o'clock, and my wife was telling me, why are you going too early? When I get to bank 7 o'clock this morning, I couldn't park my car. I had to call my accounting officer. He said, sir, you have to go back. But there's no space here. There's no money here. I, Reverend Dominic, cannot, access my money. I'm hungry now as I'm still talking here. If I am hungry on my status in this nation to say the truth, how much more the market woman? I don't have food in this house now. And you think that if I don't have food, I will go and submit to a party that cost me this pain. If Ashwaji wins on Saturday, it's a miracle. And we have to congratulate our brothers in the north. They have done well.
Yes.
But whatever you do, God's will must prevail. And let me just say this, Yuri. When I heard Mr. President broadcast from Ethiopia, I laughed. What is urgency? You know we are in war here. You went to Ethiopia, start broadcasting in Ethiopia, telling us who to vote and not to vote. What kind of government is this? Yuri, in 2015, all of us said that the good luck government was kindergarten. What we call this government? What we call this?
Well,
is it primary? Is it infantry? What we call it? Where a party is working like this itself. Today there's three APC, the Ashwaji APC, the Malawi APC, the CBN APC, the Mohammed Buhari APC. Where does this happen? Thank you, Nigeria.
Thank you very much for calling in, Reverend Dominic. Now, this policy, they must have known when they were doing it. All the presidential candidates, Obi, Atiku, Tinubu, and all the rest of them, were not going to be affected by this. It is the masses, the teeming masses where the numbers are, that were going to be, maybe they didn't think of it as would be punished, but they are the people suffering. Let's spend a few moments. Give me your understanding of Tinubu's position on this, where he was also appealing for calm and also stating that he was actually not against the policy, but as you yourself stated at the beginning of this, it's just the execution that could have been better.
I think I read that position. It was statemanly, mature, and very measured. Statemanly, matured, and measured. Tinubu as a candidate is walking a tightrope. The leader of his party is the sitting president, who, in spite of what appears to be a disagreement on that issue, still go on the campaign stump to lift his hand and, it's a huge theater.
It's really a huge theater. It's almost like the theater of the absurd.
Yes.
Almost.
So whatever he says, he has to, and then he has to walk the fine lines to ensure that, okay, God will take us to Saturday. Nothing must be done to ensure that this is scuttled. We'll see what's going to happen, and so on and so forth. I don't pity him. Really, I don't pity him.
No, the president is in a bind.
Let me just say this. And this is important that we say this because we must be put on record. If you study Nigerian political history, perhaps that's maybe the only fascination that is there. The issue of political unity has stalked a checkered history. And so, in the 60s, the dominant political group in the North was not able to be on the same page with the dominant political group in Western Nigeria. Awolowo, was anti-feudalism, very hot on those issues, and wasn't going to have any agreement with them. And he suffered the consequence. He was reloaded into prison. He was freed, and all that, and all that. The MPC, NCC, alliance didn't survive. By 1964, UPGAD come up with Okpara and the rest, now going back to say that they're leaving the whatever. So when the 1994 general election occurred, Azikwe, as the president of Nigeria, hesitated before calling on Tafawa Balewa to. So we've had that. In the Second Republic, we also had that kind of thing. This is the first time in 2015 that the dominant political group in Western Nigeria will embrace and then try to come together. If that kind of experiment does not work, it can have impact on our country moving forward. I'm just saying this. So I don't think that what I've seen is that whereas this experiment started And everybody said, oh, this could be good. Then that means you coming together, the first opposition party winning election and all that. And all that. You know, Ghana has done that. And all that, and all those things. I mean, the administration had everything going for it when it came into power, in spite of those who didn't vote to elect the president. The president, right from the beginning, started nibbling at a platform that he could have solidified. The president went to the United States, for example, and he was asked a question, softball, at a think tank group. Now, you know, certain people didn't vote for you in this election. How are you going to bring people together to work? Of course, the state now will say, of course, I'll bring everybody together. I'm the president, I'm the father of the nation, things like that. No. Unmasked, the president just said, well, how do you expect me to leave those who gave me 95% and be working for? So right from that moment, the president, you know, had not had it right. But for me, what is important in all this discussion is that our people deserve better.
Exactly.
Our people deserve
because
better.
I was going to ask you, following from all of this, how do we now begin to pick up the pieces? It is what it is, but we still have to get on. President Buhari has till the end of his tenure, which, you know, is not all that long.
Our people deserve better. However, you know, there's a way in which people of the left...
Oh, I beg your pardon, please. I heard there's Alhaji Subaya on the line. Alhaji Subaya, apologies. Good morning to you, sir. Sorry to have kept you waiting.
You're but apology taken, but my credit has been waiting for a long time. Anyway.
Sorry about that, Alhaji.
Sorry.
Alhaji Subaya calling in from Alimosho.
Exactly.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much. First of all, let me appreciate your guest.
Thank you, sir.
He has said my mind. He has said a lot of things, especially to Nigerians. He has said a lot of things about the insincerity of the President Muhammadu Buhari to his party and insincerity of President Muhammadu Buhari to Nigerians. You understand? So it is so painful, you know, the way we saw ourselves. And the unfortunate aspect now is that even our president disobeying the Apex Court ruling. You understand? That is why I said your guests have said a lot of things. In fact, Apex Court, you know, by his position, you know, he's trying to salvage the mess the president and the president has caused Nigeria. But unfortunately, you understand, they didn't listen to him, and that is why, on this note, you know, and maybe your analysts, your guests will even say more about it. That is why, for one, I didn't expect any miracle tomorrow. I think, you know, the Apex Court is going to meet tomorrow, but I didn't expect anything, you know, for anything, you know, miracle, anything, so any new, you know, to solve our problem tomorrow. Because Nigeria, with the way your analysts have said it, it is not the right time. It is not expected as the president. That is why he has said a lot about the president's insincerity to his party and insincerity to Nigeria. And kudos to the Nigerian northern governor, for standing upright, you know, against their party. And I'm happy to hear from your guests too that, you know, the president is being isolated on his own call. He's on his way. But by and large, I'm appealing to Nigeria. Saturday is nearer. Let us endure so that if it destruction will not help us. Because, like my brother Yori said, you know, the motive of President Muhammadu Buhari is known to him and God. But unfortunately, it's his own motive, because I don't see why he should be behaving to us in this way. His own motive is known to him and his mind and to God. But I'm appealing to Nigeria to exercise patience this Saturday. Let us try our best and endure. God will save us from this wahala.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And once again, Alhaji Subaya, apologies for holding you up all that long. But as it is, because there are some things that you were saying that I wanted you to land on.
Everybody has been impacted negatively by this, at least the vast majority of our people. And for me, people play politics with a lot of things. Because when this thing started, a lot of say, yes, the president was right, including those who never saw anything good in the president. He now became their hero,
yes,
and all that. And I say, why? But now everybody has been impacted. And I urge Nigerians to, in Lagos particular, to know this. There are certain people of northern extractions selling grocery in traffic, fruits, and all that. Most of them, preponderantly from the north and all, ordinary people. They've not been selling. They've not been selling because people don't have money to. So if they're selling like that, lay by and all that, is that where you want to be doing transfer?
Exactly.
Is that what we want to be doing cashless?
So as Tinubu said, he's not against
These are the
this,
ordinary people.
but it should have been done differently. It could have been done differently. Certainly not try to pressure cook it into the few weeks that it was going to take. What was wrong with having this?
You know that the high and mighty have also been impacted, not so much the ordinary people.
Yeah.
I reference Chief Edwin Clark, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who publicly declared that he bought 200,000 with 250,000, or with 50,000 naira. He said it on air, on Arise television.
Yes. Because it was the only way he could get hold of it. Is it the new note or the old notes? Because
I've done so too.
You have also had
to
actually
be.
You have allowed yourself to be extorted.
I've been in court, and a judge said that, what do you mean? You think that we are not taking judicial notice of what is going on? I'm a judge. I have not held, in the past 2-3 weeks, I've only had 1,000 naira with me. And I sit every day. I work, I conduct trial. So what do you expect me to do? To go and be chasing ATMs? Or you think that judges don't spend money?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has been impacted.
That's why.
And so that's why I'm saying, look, I repeat, stubbornness is no courage, and rigidity is no principle. They are different. When it doesn't take anything away from you. People are not going to say the President Buhari will not be less a president.
No.
If you were to kowtow and bow to the interim relief granted by the Supreme Court, this Attorney General will not be less an Attorney General. In any case, maybe people don't know. This Attorney General will perhaps be the longest serving Attorney General in the history of this country.
And as you know, this Attorney General also would be president. He also wanted to be president, just to throw that in there.
Yes.
Between Attorney General and the governor of Central Bank.
At the end of the day, when they leave office, people will ask, Attorney General, you were there for 8 years. Elias was not there for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Ajibola was not there for 8 years. He had to go to Hague. Okay? Bayojo was not there for 8 years. Akpango was not there for 8 years. And so Bola Ige was not there for 8 years. He was even killed as an Attorney General. But you, 8 years now, what have you achieved? I mean, people must rise. People must do what is right by their country.
Well, I've got to leave it.
Because I don't understand all this.
That is
why must we be taking through all this ordeal?
That is why
because you want to prove that you have power to exercise,
and
then you leave us in the hands of a CBN governor to be insulting us every day, to be setting up his banks. This CBN governor left any bank for CBN.
That's right.
Was he not concerned when he saw bankers of his bank, Zenith Bank, scaling the fence? Was he not troubled? I mean, but we go into an election now, and that's how we anchor, sir. We go into an election.
Sorry about that. Let me quickly squeeze in. And sorry, Peter, but that is exactly what we must do. Go ahead, Peter, calling in from Magodo. As brief as possible, please. I didn't want to not take you.
Yeah, my name is Peter Chigozie Wallach. I'm calling you from Magodo Phase 1 here. I just want to contribute to this program because all of us, we are in this mess. From the onset, when Buhari came in, I gave him my vote in 2015, thinking that things were going to change, But it is very, 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 very unfortunate that ever since Buhari came in, it has been one issue to another, and he's a father figure. It's very, very painful that Buhari will see people suffering, like people dying, even a life, one life. I don't know why Nigerians don't value life. Just one person like this, nobody cares. This is something that I'm begging him in the name of God. This is something he can do. Before it's too late, he should do it because people are dying, people are suffering.
All right, then.
Tinubu himself, that is an innocent man, this thing now is coming to affect him. But I pray that God will, in His infinite mercy, will soften his heart, and then those around him that are trying to make this thing to be.
Okay, Peter.
I don't know.
Okay, Peter. Thank you very much for calling in. Really appreciate your call. But that's as much of the time that we had. So we end, and I still didn't get a question that has been bothering my mind, which is what was the motive of the president and Governor Emefiele in arranging this whole thing anyhow?
What was the motive of the president in tolerating Emefiele when he wanted to be a president?
And also giving the Attorney General his job back.
Yes.
After he had come out
yes.
and bought the form.
Yes. What was the motive of the president?
So
the motive is out there, writ large. It's there. It's clear. So I'm not going. You wanted me to answer that question. I knew from time,
yes,
but I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay,
so
we're going to have to leave it here.
I think that by deduction and inference.
That's the best we can
by
do. By
deduction and inference.
Okay.
The lawyers use very much.
Yes.
And judges use in adjudicating.
Yes.
In evidence that you can deduce, you can infer. The motive of the president should be clear to everybody. I'm not going to answer that question. But whatever the motive is bad for the people of Nigeria.
There you go.